true to what you said on paper.
I wish that I could freely dream and be judged from within, haunted by a power that cannot see past my skin. My views are viewed as ignorant, my truth always denied. My history is shrouded in a spider web of lies. Isn't this America? Or is this America all a lie?
Of the freedom of speech, somewhere I read. Of the freedom of press, somewhere I read. That the greatness of America is the right to protest far right.
How can I pledge allegiance to a country built on lies? Or raise my children to believe they're equal in its eyes? My leaders are assassinated for speaking their mind. So justice never tilts my way. I thought that she was blind. Isn't this America? Or is this America all a lie?
Well, welcome back to the first edition of At the Round Table for 2024. I'm your host, Larry Ellison, in studio with my co-host, my brothers from another, what we're going to call ourselves, the Sunshine. I don't think we've ever had a male on here, part of the team, that had hair.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it goes with the age, brother. It goes with the age.
Listen, I don't know, because mine started coming. I wasn't that old.
Yeah, I hear you, Doc. I hear you.
I inherited it from my grandfather.
Yeah,
so,
well, it is what it is.
No, it is.
You know?
No, listen, I just noticed that. I think I think it was Jamal who brought it to our attention.
Jamal, who love you, baby?
right, exactly. I should have brought lollipops for everyone.
Who love you, baby?
My daughter had a bag of them at the house too. So, good morning, Dr. Bradley. Good morning, Rhodes. How are you?
Great. Happy New Year.
Good. He got his Mac. He didn't leave home without it.
I hear you. Good morning, brothers. God is good. I'm glad to be here, man.
All the time. We want to thank our sponsor, Guarantee Rate Mortgage Company. For all your mortgage needs, give branch manager Cora Holbrook a call at area code 781-342-0252. Guarantee Mortgage is located at 75 State Street in downtown Boston, Mass. Guarantee Rate Mortgage Company. Guaranteed to exceed your expectations. Also, a reminder again, tomorrow, January 7th, 2024, at the Bruce C. Bowling Building, it's the second annual fundraiser for the Marcus Anthony Hall Educational Institute. So for more information, you can contact Sister Priscilla at www.maheii.org. That's mahei.org. For more information, and again, that's tomorrow, January 7th, from 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. The keynote speaker will be our one and only Congresswoman from the 7th District, Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley, and yours truly will be the MC for the day. Yes, I've been tapped to MC.
Oh, good.
Yeah, tomorrow it'll be my first unpaid gig in retirement. I will be MCing, so looking forward to that. And the weather is supposed to be a little choppy tomorrow, so don't let that discourage you, folks. I think we may not get the brunt of the storm. Also, a job fair will be held here at Global Ministries Christian Church at 670 Washington Street, January 22nd, 2024, from 1 to 4 p.m. For more information, you can contact Eric Kennedy via email at twnb20@gmail.com. That's twnb20@gmail.com. Again, that's the job fair, January 22nd. Like I said, there's not a lack of jobs. There's a lack of people. people these days. So before people would, and now with the increase with the minimum wage going up in a lot of states, it's having a positive effect, but also having a negative, because a lot of you go in the restaurant now, and the menu prices have jumped up considerably. But the pro to that is that gas prices, I noticed, have been coming down quite a bit. In Mass, a lot of places under $3, which is something. This is where, gentlemen, help me. And like I said, it goes back to what you're talking about with the cult personality, right? You're a businessman, Rhodes. Is that all indications that the economy is doing good and people still want to turn a blind? Like, it's almost they're wishing for destruction.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Rose. Go on. You're going to say something.
I can't explain it. I literally can't explain
You're an economist, right? So that's your background is in business, right? How would you say things are? I mean, I know it's not perfect, right? But from the previous administration, looking at the numbers, because I was looking at them side by side.
All right. Well, I'm far from an economist, but I will tell you, yes, the economy is doing better. The unemployment number has been one of the lowest. As a matter of fact, it's actually inverse for the unemployment numbers are actually better for the black community compared to the white community for the first time in history, because of the way the economy is, and it's gig based, and it's also people have more opportunity to actually start businesses on their own. So people are working, and the fact is that when unemployment numbers are calculated, I believe it's after 3 or 6 months. Like, if you're not applied for unemployment benefits, you're not counted.
Okay. So Dr. Bradley, you're in academia. Help us out here with why is such a disconnect of reality and positive numbers, positive outcomes. And I know it depends on how you feel personally, because if you still go in the grocery store, things are a lot more expensive, but it costs a lot more to produce things. COVID did not help that, and a lot of reason why we actually, if you look around the world, they're envying our return, our recovery here in the United States, and that has been because we've had a steady hand and a steady president. I mean, you have to give credit where credit due, because if it was going in the other direction,
you would blame him.
How do we wrap our minds around the disconnect? Help us out here.
Well, I think one of the things that didn't happen that I hope will happen soon is that the White House should do a lot in pushing their numbers, making sure that they talking to the people about what they have accomplished. I would rather, I make it very clear. I'm not supporting Donald Trump in no way, shape, or form.
That makes two of us.
All right, so I'm not, and I'm not trying to convince anyone to do what they. But I'm telling you now that when you're looking at the fact that the entire supply side of your economy was adversely impacted by COVID. It takes time to gear that up.
Right.
And I think now that we have the machine is beginning to move again, it's beginning to move. And now that it's beginning to move, you are seeing a lot of these demands coming down. So I think that we need to do a better job in making sure that people understand that we are doing better off than other people around the world.
But this is my point. How do we do that when people have blinders on and certain people only get their information from the same numbers they were reporting out were great under Donald Trump are even better under this administration, and yet they don't believe their own lying eyes?
I think the way to do it is is consistently tell the truth, because the truth will prevail. I think, and I rest on that.
Right.
I rest on the fact that the truth, at some point, a lie will actually fall apart. Because you have to remember what you said. Be honest with you.
But I think, gentlemen, that's like telling your ex-wife in the divorce court, "I love you." Right? It's they don't believe it.
But see, the thing is, Larry, we cannot be concerned about what people don't believe. We have to be concerned about what we are doing, as it relates to putting information out, and that's correct.
I couldn't agree more. But again,
because they're going to believe what they want to believe.
Right, but it's like you're on deaf ears. It's like even when they have the facts in front of them, folks. Like I said, I was watching, and I like Ali Velch. He was sitting in last night for one of the regulars on MSNBC, and he was showing the numbers under Donald Trump and in the Fox personalities talking about what a great and how great this was and these numbers, and then the same better numbers that came out yesterday with President Biden's administration, and how this was the worst thing that ever happened to this country. And they don't conflate. I'm like, folks, it's right here, side by side.
But he's talking to those people who want to hear that.
That's what I'm talking about, and they will never change. Let's see what
You're not going to change those folks.
Hearing from. Good morning, caller. Welcome to the roundtable.
Good morning, gentlemen. How are you this morning?
Good morning. A person with hair.
I know, right? Listen, I just wanted to. I know you all are talking about Donald Trump and the election this year and everything. I just would like to do a little quick announcement about my event that I'm having tomorrow.
I announced it at the top of the hour. I announced it at the top of the 7 o'clock, the 8 o'clock. Clearly, you must have just tuned in. We've been talking about it. But yeah, we'll talk about that. But also, before you do, I just have to say thank you, one, for inviting me on your show. And I was saying to folks earlier, I'm like, what a lively audience. I said, boy, can you imagine a morning drive? And with that type of conversation, that was taking place, the phones were ringing off the hook. You have quite a listening audience on Thursday mornings at 9 o'clock, and quite an audience that is has an opinion, to say the least. But yeah, no, I was. We had announced the second annual fundraiser for the Marcus Anthony Hall Educational Institution. That's tomorrow, January 7th, 2024, from 2 to 6 p.m. Keynote speaker, our own Congresswoman from the 7th District, Ayanna Pressley. And I also told them yours truly will be your MC for the day. But go ahead. Yeah. Just wanted to build that.
I just want to reiterate, I'm just so blessed and happy to have you, Larry, as our MC. You've always been a partner with us in the work that we've done, and I just really, really appreciate you. And I'm thankful and I'm grateful to God for just giving me the vision. I can't believe it's 3 years where, we're going to start our third cohort with the Marcus Anthony Hall Educational Institute.
So, Priscilla, tell folks what that really is about, and not just the fundraiser, but the work and the targeted young people, and why you came up with this vision. Because we were talking about here this morning for the last hour or so, the lack of civic engagement, and it's not really being taught in the school. In some states, it's almost illegal to teach civic engagement and truth about this country. So what got you to this concept?
So first of all, the work that I've been doing in the community in the city. What happened was on June the 14th, 2016, one of our young men was killed at a barber shop, taking his 4-year-old son
I remember
to get a haircut.
That's right near the police station there, right?
Right near the police station, yes, on Blue Hill Ave in Morton. His name was Marcus Anthony Hall, and he was 31 years old, and he was a young man that was trying to make change in the community. He had started a couple of organizations. One was called Booth Brothers Out of the Hood, and the other one was called CAP, the Community Action Plan. And he went around to a couple of churches and was asking them, could he, speak to their youth and, maybe start a program, helping and educating them. And they told him, he was not a tithe payer, and he didn't go, he wasn't a member there, so they could not, do that. So, when we found that out after he died, I was like, we really need to do something in his name. And at the time, I really didn't know what to do. But then when I thought about what he stood for, he talked about constitutional law. He talked about state law. He was a very intelligent young man. And so he left suddenly. And so we figured what we could do because of his compassion, our compassion, we decided to create the Marcus Anthony Hall Educational Institute. And what it is we're teaching our young folks, ages 14 to 24, how to run for office. How do you advocate for yourself? How do you organize? How do you get to ask a politician the questions that you have, that you're dealing with, the things that you're going through? And so far, like I said, this is our third year, and we've had, we've had support from our elected officials, Russell Holmes, Julia Mejia.
You know what that sounds like to me?
Constable.
It sounds like a civics lesson. It sounds like civics that you should be taught in high school.
Yeah.
Right, but it's not. And so
that's a fundamental problem that needs to be addressed.
And let me tell you why that's so key. This unfortunately, yesterday was my last day as a member of the Boston Police Department. And
Congratulations.
thank you. Yeah, after 41 years. And, and as I was leaving, my deputy, and someone sent me a text message and said, Larry, you haven't even finished out the day. And they just grabbed a kid down at Madison Park with a loaded firearm in the school. I know, because I was hearing the school being on lockdown. Mm-hmm. And then the night before, the two kids that were in the stolen car that flipped over on Marcy Boulevard that died were both students at Madison Park High School.
Wow.
Then there was a young 16-year-old there this week who committed suicide from the school. So I'm saying to myself, you're talking about trauma, and all of this gets very little attention. And a lot of that is because we don't understand our struggle. Because I think the reason why we are the way we are is because we understand history, and inflicting pain on each other is not a solution. Mm-hmm. But when these kids, all they kind of grow up with this negative and this, like, rap, we had rap back in the days, but it wasn't calling women out of their names. It wasn't calling each other the N-word. A whole different vibe. Right, and maybe some of the music is why we had such large families, but it was soothing. This stuff here,
I'd like to point out there's a documentary on Tubi. I don't know, it's a free app called Tubi, and if you can download it or whatever,
Tubi,
Tubi, Tubi, and it's called Out of the Darkness, and it really goes the fact that we're missing our history, and that's what really it says. One of the psychologists, Dr. Umar Johnson, he says the fact that we do not know ourselves, that's why we're able to hurt ourselves.
But isn't that incumbent upon us to teach it in our homes as well? I guess you can't teach what you don't know, right?
Well, that's what I was going to say. It's hard. It's very hard to teach what you don't know. And all throughout history, we did teach ourselves, which got us to where we are today. And I just want to take this opportunity to do a couple of things. Number one is to applaud what Sister Priscilla is doing, because she's stepping in the gap. She's filling in that gap where the brother just mentioned it, that it just should be at school, but it's not. So we got to do what we got to do, and that is to educate our kids on how this system works and how it used against them. So that's the that's the first piece, and and I'm going to talk a little bit later on about the powerful tool of entertainment. I talked about the EE ratio. And I mentioned that a couple of times on our show, education versus entertainment. And our EE ratio is out of whack.
They call it edutainment these days.
But my point here is, think about how we came up, what we were listening to, what the music was, the message in the music that we were listening to as children. We were talking about the civil rights movement.
Yeah.
We came up through that. What's going on?
Right.
You know what I
War
mean?
is not the
war
answer.
is not the answer. I'm black and I'm proud. You had all these songs
Mercy,
that had inculcated or ingrained into them a message to the youth. What is that message today?
That it's been corrupted. It's been taken over by corporate America.
So
kill yourself.
So if you really want to destroy a society, you do a couple of things. The first thing you do is destroy the family.
Yes.
Do you do that through social engineering? So you want to get that segment of society paralyzed or eradicated. You destroy the family through social engineering. The second thing you do, now that the father is out of the house, you start bombarding that community with messages in their entertainment that is supporting their own destruction.
Yeah.
And that's what we're dealing with today. So the entertainment vehicle is a powerful vehicle for change. Now, what we have to do, and what our people who are actually in that entertainment business do not produce that kind of music, but that's what they're financing.
Right. But to your point, and it's a very good point, is I remember when BET was sold, right? It was sold to a Jewish company. And the first thing they eliminated was the news.
Right? Yes.
I'm like, how do you have BET, Black Entertainment Television, Black Entertainment? Just as I'm like entertaining. All we want to be is entertained, and that you don't have a news outlet on like not Boston for the most part for Black people is a news desert, a news desert.
Exactly. And because we when we lost touch, we lost that drive time, morning time. However, Boston Praise Radio and Boston Black News and 102.9 FM have stood in the gap, and we have been doing this work. You with MAMLEO, Pastor Bruce with his morning show, Pastor Hogg, me, People Power with Priscilla. We're out there, and we are bringing our community information that they need. Like,
right. But that comes at a cost, though, Sister Priscilla, and so like we pay for our own broadcast, you pay for your broadcast, and folks don't understand is that they need to support this radio station, not us, not our particular broadcast, but the radio station itself, so that this to continue. I just say you don't miss your water till the well runs dry. Well, folks, the well is drying up.
I think I think that is true. We need to support the station. I think what we also need to do is try to reach the community of young folks. That a lot of them may not even listen to a station like this.
No.
A lot of them may go onto the Snap Faces and all the other things that are actually on the social media and use podcasts or pod, whatever they call those things, to get their news. So we have to, meaning people that are engaging in this type of platform, have to reach out into those other platforms as well to reach those younger folks.
Right, but here's the problem with that. In the disconnect is that even on those, they will not gravitate to this type of conversation. They have been programmed. Anything that doesn't entertain them, that doesn't sell them something.
But see, that's my point.
They move right past it.
So that's my point. My point is that the people who are financing what we hear, what we wear, what we eat. And also how we're entertained, decided that they were not going to finance entertainment that's going to keep us in a positive light. They're going to only finance those entertainment vehicles that's going to put us in a negative light.
That's why we need to be financing our own stuff.
Right, that's where I'm going.
We need to be teaching our own children.
That's where I'm going.
So that's where I'm going. Right. So Priscilla, that's why I was going to ask you this question. How are you finding these young people to recruit into the Marcus Anthony Hall that are actually plugged in? Because a lot of young people, even if you offer them something of this magnitude, of this importance, just kind of shun it. How are you able to locate young people, and where are you finding them?
Well, we have a new vice president that's young, and he's been helping us with our recruitment efforts. But we also have young people that work with us, that volunteer with us, and they have family members that are around that age. And so we have recruited 15 young people have registered for our classes, and we have another 5 more coming in from Master.
And what's your capacity?
Our capacity is 25.
Okay.
And we're because we don't want to have too many.
Right.
But if we could get the funding, we would take all.
Well, let me ask you a question. Do you ever have a waiting list?
Not yet. Not yet.
And then I say that, but I'm saying is that goes to my point, is that there should be an abundance where I was hoping you'd say, yeah, there are kids who we would love to get to, and we got to work harder, but we just don't have the infrastructure to serve them. But you're not even reaching your capacity. Because, like I said, there seems to be a disconnect because, one, it's not taught in the school, but more importantly, and where it starts, it's not taught in the home. Because in these other states where they're saying we don't want people to learn, like Florida and places like that, your history, those folks are very vocal, and they're taking action. They've taken action to keep it out.
Well, I think that you just hit on a nugget. And by the way, it's being taught in the home.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Because you're both. We are. I don't know if you have kids. You have kids. Okay, we're both fathers. And my kids are, the youngest is 23, and I do a lot of reading. I do a lot of research, but a lot of that information that I pull out is shared with her. So now she's voting. And now she's pulling information that I gave her, and she's doing her own research. What I'm trying to say to you is that, we can't allow other people to teach our kids.
Malcolm X said,
Problem.
That's the problem.
Yes.
And when we start allowing people, when you, I'm an educator, when you design your course, you make a decision as to what you're going to teach,
Right.
how you're going to teach it, and how you're going to exercise. You know, and what exercise you're going to use to prove to have students prove to you that they understand what you're teaching.
Yeah.
All right. And so what I'm trying to say to you is that if we're allowing people to that are not looking like us to teach our children, they're going to teach our children in a way that we are not.
I'm going to tell you
want
something
to
about my
support.
experience
Right.
with the educational
So-
system as well.
So let me just tell you. So we have people like Professor Jermadari as an instructor. We have Shagun Adawu. We have James Mackey. C.C.
don't have
Graham.
Dr.
These
Bradley,
are people. Marie Furman. These are people. Professor Charlie Titus, Charlie Coulter. I mean, we have people that have been in this community, have lived in this community, have worked in this community, and know this community. And they are the ones that are teaching our young folks, you know. And so, of course, we want to do more, but we can only do but so much. And that is why we need to get, like you said, the parents need to get
The
involved.
parents
with
definitely
it,
need to be involved. And that's an
you know,
issue. That's the biggest issue, is the fact that the parents allow the schools to run amok and the teachers to make the decisions and label their kids as troublemakers. And sometimes, and these days, the parents will advocate with the kid instead of like being with the
Well,
school.
they will advocate for medicine for their kids, but they won't. And a lot of times, medicine is more of the problem than the solution. You know,
It sure is.
getting your kid dope.
I am so against medicating our children. And Dr. Umar Johnson is against that as well. You know,
Yeah, that's a big business for
It
pharmacists.
is.
It's not
exactly. And then also adds more money to the school department. They advocate. They get more money if they have special needs children.
Well,
you know, I had before the election, I had Erin Murphy on my show, right? And she was telling me that 22,000 students were missing from Boston public schools that were not going right. And I said, well, so why is that budget so big, right? Why is the budget almost $2 billion? Because if you say you're educating 47,000 children and only 22,000 of them show up, hello.
Well, it's funny you say that, Priscilla. I want to grab this other call. I said that to someone last night. They didn't believe me that number. They said, "You know, it's not 2,200." I said, "I'm telling you, I worked in a school. That's the number. That's the number."
22,000 kids are not showing up.
Yes,
So you're only educating. They're only educating 20,000 off of a $1.4 billion budget.
that's right.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. I'm
That's
like,
right.
what is going on?
That's
That
right.
don't even make no sense.
I'm making
No
that.
wonder they don't want to.
Why don't they just pay the kids? Take the money and just pay the kids to
Right,
school.
right.
Like-
Listen, the lines is people are waking up. Let's grab these calls right quick. Good morning, caller.
Okay.
Caller. Okay, Miss
I'll
Priscilla.
hang up and
Okay,
listen.
all right, Priscilla. I'll see you tomorrow. We'll talk later.
Okay.
Good morning, caller. Welcome to the round table.
Good
Yes, good
morning. How you
morning.
doing?
Who? Okay, who's first? Who?
What?
IB. Okay, Jamal. Let's get this other one. IB. Is it Ibia? Ibina. Let's grab her first, and then we'll get. Yes.
Hi.
Good
Hi.
morning.
Every time I hear you talking about this disconnect with the children, I have an incident that happened to me, and I want to relate this story to you because I think it might be insightful. I used to help with coaching high school kids. It was a program for refugee children, and it was so that when the high school kids normally go home and their parents will help them with the homework, these children's parents didn't speak English, and so they would come to this homework club where we would go and be surrogate parents, if you like. And so one day a young girl came. She had been at primary school probably a couple of years, and then she'd been thrown into high school. She didn't speak very much English, and so she came along with this homework that had to be done. And what it was she came with a sheet of paper, and it was a list, a dot point of a list of things that she would have been taught over the course of from grade 1 to grade 7, primary school. Over the course of the primary school, this was what she would have learnt concerning computers, and it was in a nutshell, it was all on one page covering those 7 years, and I thought, this will be interesting because I need to learn myself. So we went down the dot points, and we came down to this one that said, old fogeyism. You must learn to recognize and ignore. And I was totally shocked when I read that.
Mm-hmm.
What it seemed to me was that is what's implied in the education of children to do with computers.
Mm-hmm.
Don't listen to the old people. We will tell you everything you need to know.
Yeah.
Because they would never say overtly, you must recognize old fogeyism and learn to ignore it.
Well, that's what they call. That's the beginning, in my opinion, of an indoctrination. Is that people aren't being able to teach to learn themselves. I know you call all the way from down in Australia. I think you guys are in your summer months, right? And we're up here.
That's right, and it's Saturday night.
And we're up here freezing. But stand by. I want to bring our other caller in too, if you don't mind. And
well, I don't know how much that would relate.
Okay.
And I don't know that I can add terribly much more to it.
Well, but thank you for calling in, and thank you. I know you've been an avid listener down in Australia.
I do listen. And Jamal, I remember you when you were a teenager.
Oh, he still is. in his mind.
I remember him. All right.
Thank you,
brothers. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Happy New Year. Thank you. Happy New Year.
Bye.
Jamal, one of your fan base.
Wow. Now, that's Oz?
Yes, that's Oz.
Okay. So now, well, that's strange. I mean, she can't know me from a teenager. I'm 53 years old. Maybe she doesn't realize that.
Is she?
In your mind. In your mind, brother.
I think she's been following you in your Blackstonian, and so you have a long paper trail, Jamal.
Okay. I mean,
not just with the police department.
Exactly. But so first of all, congratulations on the retirement.
Thank you, my brother.
Yeah, absolutely, and I know what that means for you and your family and all that.
Yeah.
But also too, just for the general public to know, and this is why that I gave you that award. We gave you that award at the MAMLEO banquet. Because of the things when people talk about going above and beyond the call of duty, right? So here you are, just retired. You don't have to be at the radio station today. And you don't have to be doing the food thing with me on any given Sunday. Particularly with that you live out in the boondocks,
right.
So this is a type of thing where I think that what they said, real people do real things, and so that's where we can recognize people who are doing solid things out of the goodness of their heart, not doing it for a photo op, not doing it for the accolades and the awards and all this type of thing, but doing it because how our guy Wilfred Brimley used to say, because it's the good thing to do and the tasty way to do it, right? So
thank you for that, Jamal. And it's funny you say that, because I get so many calls from folks yesterday in the commissioner's office, and they wanted this whole big production and and I said I'm not doing any of that. I said I didn't do this for that, and I don't want this sent out with this and that and the other thing, because that's not who I am. I'm not looking for any recognition. I didn't come into this with any fanfare, and I'm not leaving anything. So I appreciate, because you really just identified who I am as a person, is that I rebuffed all that. Even the folks in my office, we have to do something. No, you don't. You don't have to do anything.
I did the same thing.
And that's not me just not wanting and not appreciating. I thank you is enough. But I did not, because I think a lot of times when I see that, I'm like, what are we really promoting here? I try to help people because it's the right thing to do, just like you do. And I'm not looking we don't broadcast, hey, we're here, on Facebook. And first of all, I think it embarrasses people a lot of times who need help. They don't want anybody to know that they may need a little help, So I don't subscribe to that. Like, I know Dr. Bradley doesn't, because he's calling people calling it snap face, and
I don't know what that's.
I don't have a clue. When I hear him describing him, like I know he's not a subscriber.
No,
neither am I.
No,
but
I don't get it.
Some of that, because of work, but I didn't even use that stuff because it's what am I promoting here? But I get what I'm saying is thank you, because it means more when people like yourself who acknowledge it from the heart and understand why I'm doing what I do. And you're right, I don't need an official title to do it, and I'm going to continue to do the work because the work needs to be done just like you do. So thank you, man.
Thanks.
Appreciate it, man.
Give thanks. And now let me say this though too, because while we just talked about a good person, another name came up that ain't so good. Okay. And I just want people to be aware of these things. People, do your own research study. I could be lying. I could just be crazy or whatever. But Dr. Umar Johnson, who many people subscribe to, is I certainly wouldn't allow him around any members of my family. So, not a good thing. I think people need to look into that a little bit more. There's been a lot of financial discrepancy with all the money that he's been raising for the past 15 years. The school that he claims to be building that has still not gotten built, and by my estimation, will not get built. Much of the controversial statements he's made are even some where people say that he's for, helping young black boys. He's also said that many of these young black boys will have to be killed in the hood because they're unsavable. Many discrepancies with women and so on and so forth. So I just say that people need to look into that themselves. There's plenty of information out there online. I mean, you can just look at his own video.
Eyebrows over there when you're hearing this stuff. No, but see, Jamal, it goes to what we've been discussing here this morning. Is that problem is that people will not do what you have done and continue to do. With Dr. Bradley, with Rhodes, and myself, pass on. A lot of people will just too lazy in a lot of instances, and will just take someone else's word on what it's supposed to be, and they follow it.
People don't like to think for themselves.
Yeah,
that's crazy. They do not like to think for themselves. They'd rather just give me the answer. Just tell me what to do.
Or if they can't Google it and find an answer that they like, like before, like you said, you had encyclopedias. You had to go to the library. I take the librarian in my town, she knows me and my daughter, because usually me and my daughter, that's time for us bonding, my oldest. And we go there and my daughter takes out 9-10 books. And by the end of the week, she has gone through most of those books, and we're back there getting more. And she's an avid reader, not on a tablet. The tablet does not read, and so a lot of people use those devices as babysitters. But I guess my question, Jamal, is how do we combat with this monster, this elephant that is in the room that's not going away, and people just rather have somebody else tell them how to think and what to do?
So that's the thing. It's like, okay, you don't know what you don't know. So this is why, a lot of elderly or women or just people who don't know, right, you can get conned by a mechanic because you brought your car there. You don't know what the heck is going on.
You hear this noise, right?
Right.
And they're like, ching, got one.
You went in for an oil change. Next thing you know, he's telling you got to replace the engine. Right. You know what I mean?
Right.
Or same thing with people doing home repairs or whatever. You don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
So what happens to me in the realm of community stuff, black knowledge, consciousness, unfortunately, a lot of the people who are purporting it haven't spent the time to study it to recognize malpractice when they see it. And so this is what has happened to us time and time again here in our community of Boston. And I don't want to go on to mention names, but we've had a long list of people who are community activists or whatever, but they have a lot of charlatan tendencies, and a lot of it tends to either feed their ego or feed their pockets, right? So we've seen this, time and time again from the 80s till now, right? So in order to combat it, I believe that people really need to either study that which you say you're interested in, or leave it alone until you study up. So I think that
right. So again, it goes back to Priscilla. She's trying to do this at the Democracy Hall, trying to educate people. Like I said, decide that there's not a waiting list. I've been working in the schools prior to my departure yesterday, and this week I don't know if you heard earlier. The 2 kids that were in the stolen car that were killed were from Madison Park. There was a young girl there, 16 years old, who committed suicide there. Yesterday there was a young person in the school with a gun. I don't see this tide getting turned around. I see things worsening, and what I see is an effort to try to hide it and disguise it. As I was saying, 22,000 students don't show up to the Boston Public Schools. So if they're not coming to the school to learn, which is not being taught in a lot of ways, they're not getting it at home. How do we reach this population?
So a long time ago, I coined a phrase called commercial consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
And this was around the time when people were trashing people like MC Hammer and all this because they was like, oh, this music is just commercialized. And commercialized, I don't believe, is a dirty word. Commercialized just means it's prepared for the public consumption via the masses, right?
Mm-hmm.
The problem is what is normally popularized and prepared for that thing.
Mm-hmm.
So this is why when I was a kid, one of my favorite TV shows was Donahue.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
But Donahue, down with Donahue, and up rises Jerry Springer.
Yeah. And yeah.
Not even in the same arena,
Mm-hmm.
right? But I dare I say, Jerry Springer made more money than Donahue,
Mm-hmm.
and went for a longer run.
Yeah.
By the way,
Yeah.
and is still in syndication.
Right.
By the way,
Right. And even though he's no longer with it, Jamal, stand by. I want to bring this other caller in and hear what they have to say. Good morning, caller. Welcome to the roundtable.
Good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Pastor Dan. How are you, sir?
Good.
Happy New
I
Year.
caught the tail. Well, two things. First, I can't wait until I start talking politics again,
Okay.
if I do,
Yeah.
because I almost had an aneurysm this morning.
Okay. Well, the doctor is here to give you a checkup.
I'm sure he is.
And I will do it.
I'm sure you will, and you'll probably charge my Medicaid, my Medicare.
Yes, I will.
And a copay.
But what say you, sir?
Okay, so I caught the tail end of what Brother Jamal was saying about building the school, but I missed the fact about who he was talking about. So if he was,
Does it Dr. Who is it, Jamal? Dr. Umue?
yeah, Dr. Umar Johnson. He's a kind of he's arisen on the conscious scene in the past 10 or 15 years. A lot of people subscribe to him. He's what I call a YouTubian scholar. Does a lot of lectures and and a lot of the stuff doesn't add up.
okay, I'll look into it. Dr.
Umar.
Dr. YouTube.
Umar.
UMAR.
Not the YouTube.
I like that.
Dr. YouTube, I know. Dr. Umar. All right, I'll look into it. Thank you.
Johnson. Umar Johnson.
Umar Johnson. Okay. The other thing is that you're absolutely right. And my question is, did you folks talk about the city council person that won't take the oath?
No, I didn't even know who
I can't wait to get into that. So go ahead and lay it up for me,
who was
brother.
the person that didn't take the oath. I didn't even know about this. It's news to me.
Well, I'm just curious. About if that's come up. If it hasn't come up, then don't worry about it.
So okay, no. He said
You brought it up.
Counselor Hernandez.
I brought it up.
I was actually going there next.
Okay, what was the
Okay,
reason?
good.
So Counselor Fernandez did not take the oath. Was there a reason why?
Well, that's the key. I don't know.
Oh, Jamal,
I'm only getting one side of the
Okay,
story.
so Jamal
I'd
sounds
like to hear the whole story.
Jamal sounds like he has some backstory. So Jamal, help us out here.
So first of all, it's not that she didn't take the oath.
Okay.
It's that when they do the oath in chambers, right?
Mm-hmm.
There is a written thing, and then they do the whole, raise your hand, and you're supposed to repeat after them or what have you, right?
Mm-hmm.
She did not repeat all of the words, and at moments she, took a moment of reflection, and as she has now described, praying to God or what have you about her, responsibilities and duties in her own way.
Okay.
Now, what's interesting, and Franklin Hobbs, sir, I know you got a Bible somewhere in there near you, right?
Yes.
Okay, so the interesting thing about this that I've always found about courts and oaths and all this type of thing is, first of all, do we know that it's right in the Bible that you're not supposed to do that?
To
Matthew
swear.
5, verse 34 on to maybe about
swear.
37, 38.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, you're not supposed to
So
swear.
that to me is one thing. Now, two, here she is as a Muslim woman, and also two, our friend Ben Weber, who just came in as a Jew.
Mm-hmm.
I think that it's time for us to take a look at how we do oath taking, and also too, here's another kicker: because what it's like being a little kid. Well, I pinky swear I won't tell on you. That don't mean nothing.
Right.
Donald Trump took an oath, didn't he?
Well, he claims that the oath that he took was different from everybody else. He didn't take an oath to the Constitution. He took an oath to himself. But yeah, he's now trying to twist that somehow that oath is not the same for everyone who's an elected official. His was different.
He's not an officer at all.
Right. He's not an officer. His had an exemption. But go ahead.
I'm just queuing that for I'm sorry. I'm queuing that for Pastor Dan. For Pastor Dan.
Okay.
I was just like I said, I don't know the whole story, so I'm asking people who do know. So continue, please. Yeah.
Go ahead, Jamal. So,
that's basically it. Therefore, afterwards, she went back in at another on another day, and then she did take the oath.
Okay.
To their satisfaction. She had already done the written version, but they were not satisfied with the verbal thing based on the video that happened and based on some people in the community who saw that. And then, that's another thing. She's not a popular person in terms of, she has a lot of people that don't like her based on her being Muslim.
Well, that's not good.
So it was another kind of gotcha moment where that group of people used that to sensationalize.
Well, it harkens back to, remember when President Obama took the oath, and the first time he took it, there may have been some, not saying twisting, but it wasn't verbatim. And then he had went back and the chief of the Supreme Court, Chief Justice Robert, re-administered because people were saying, "Oh, he's not president," because it wasn't verbatim. Like there was a big controversy over that with him. So it seems like when certain people are veer off from what they perceive to be perfection, it's a problem. And when others who even take an oath to it don't adhere to it, it's interpreted as something entirely different. I didn't hear about this scuttlebutt, and to me it seems like a lot about nothing. If that was the issue and she's corrected it, she's now the city councilor. I'm not sure what all the controversy, but it was like you said, you leave yourself open sometimes for these gotcha moments. You want to say something?
No, another gotcha moment this week that should be acknowledged: the fact that Harvard's first black president was ousted out because people made a mountain out of molehills.
Well, and then you hear what I was saying when you hear people also to that point, Rhodes, and they were saying that because she's the president of Harvard, she'd be held to a higher standard. In the same breath, they're saying that a former president who has 91 counts against him in other criminal matters should not be held to a higher standard. The president of Harvard should be held to a higher standard than the president of the United States. Yes. I try to wrap my mind around that and make sense of it, but here we are.
Well, not and as smart as she is, she should have knew better than to take that job.
Yeah,
I agree with Jamal on that one. I believe she was set up. Yeah. I believe that it was only a matter of time. Yeah. And I have inside information that I'm not going to reveal. We'll talk offline on it. But when people of color are put in positions like that, until once they realize that they don't support that whole frame of white supremacy, it becomes. They become a problem.
So I guess it goes back to, gentlemen, because I want to spend a little time here. Is how do we talk about our youth and I'm really concerned with what I'm seeing. Like you said, when we're talking about 22,000 kids aren't showing up for schools in the Boston schools, we're spending money. Their education hasn't improved. It's just a travesty at Madison Park alone with the students there this week. 2 were killed in a stolen car. Another one suicide. Another one in the building with a firearm alleged yesterday. And this is just one school in 1 week, in a school that is not performing well at all. That was in academic problems even before the state was looking at taking over the whole system. I don't see this sense of urgency to deal with this problem, where if we're talking about our folks not having really civics, they don't even have the basics.
There's no urgency with this.
Well, the fact of the matter is the answers to these questions are not going to change. They haven't changed. If my people who are called by my name, and Second Chronicles 7:14. I know you folks rarely hear me quote scripture, but if all of the people who understand what I just said can turn and make a difference by just following the blueprint that's already been laid out in the word that you say you follow, it says that you say you believe, it's already been laid out what needs to happen. If my people who were called by my name. So that is the issue. And then the basic concept of family values. A husband, a wife, in the home, raising their children. Single this and single that. Yes, I'm not denigrating that. I'm from all that. I came through all of that. I understand it. However, and Jamal said earlier that he lives in the real world. In the real world, it's proven out that a mother and a father in a home raising their kids do exponentially better than any single version.
No, and I would agree with that to a strong point, because I live it. I know I've seen that, and that for me, like Dr. Bradley, I say this a lot of times with him. He has been an example of me. I've saw him and studied him on how to be a father, how to be a husband. He's someone I look up to immensely, not just because of his academics, but because he was as a man, and always has been an advisor. Even Jamal, you learn from everyone, but I say that there are different aspects in life that you gather from people. And so when people say that, you don't need a man or you don't need this, I disagree, because you need both of them to procreate this child.
Yes.
So you also need both of them to help raise this child. And I see because I didn't have a father in the home, and I see the difference. And so I had to learn a lot about that, because there was really no examples in my home, because my mom raised all of us pretty much by herself, unless she was dating someone. That person didn't live with us. To actually have a man in the house every day, that was not something I saw.
Okay, so now that see, like everything, that works, except when it doesn't.
Right.
So
it's not 100%.
In some cases, there's a toxic man or whatever, or woman for that matter, drug abuse or this or that, and sometimes it is better for the children to not be exposed to that, whether there's a divorce or somebody has to flee, whether it's violence or abuse, whatever it is, there are circumstances that require, and I could give you, mine wasn't so drastic, but I could tell you that I am actually now glad that I didn't grow up with my father in my household.
Knowing what I knew about my father, I'm right there with you.
And there you go, because right by now I might have a ponytail and have me a couple of little chicks on the side or something. You know what I mean? I'm not with all that.
Yeah.
So
I'm sorry, go on, Jamal.
No, so we got about a minute. So okay, so Dan, final word from you.
Let me let you
go.
Let me put this out, because I think my father needs to be recognized here, because he was victimized. All right. I grew up for the first 10, 12 years of my life with my dad in the home. Then we moved to Boston, and then he was socially engineered out of the house. And so let's be fair to some of those brothers who did not walk away. They were socially engineered out, and for the whole purpose of creating a group of criminals, black kids that can go into the system and provide free labor for businesses, so corporations. So that's how the system works.
30 seconds. Go ahead, brother.
But can we just stay? Are we going over? Or are we done?
I've got to run. I've got to run.
Okay.
Yeah, at 9 o'clock.
So, people, please, 2 Chronicles chapter 7, starting at verses 14, is the answer to the issue.
Yeah.
Agreed.
My daughter has, like I said, I have pivoted from place to family time a little bit more, so I've got it at 10 o'clock hard.
That's a good thing.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Family over everything else.
Jamal, thank you, brother. I will see you in the morning, like the postman. Rain, sleet, snow, and hail. Looks like we're gonna get all of that. So,
and for all the Donald Trump supporters, that Bible verse was 2 Chronicles.
2 Chronicles.
I said, oh, wise guy. All right, whatever.
Gentlemen.
I said 2nd Chronicles. Okay, 2 Chronicles. Listen, I don't care how you say it, read it and follow it and live it.
Dan, thank you, sir.
But I do care that you still support him, though.
We'll
talk about that later.
You've been listening to At the Round Table with MAMLEO. Gentlemen, thank you so much for starting this new year off the right way. Dr. Bradley?
Be blessed.
All right.
Peace.
Not getting into it.
I do care that you still support him.
Work hard, hustle real hard, hustle real hard, hustle real hard, hustle. So if I never see ya, never get the chance to meet ya. No, I came up from the bottom, always rooting for the underdog. Hustle real hard, hustle. I wrote 300 songs in 1 year, Boogie will tell you I'm on it. I got unreleased songs for days, they don't want it. Eat any MC in the game. It ain't a challenge if your music reflects who you are, then you's a coward. I can see through the lies you ain't living what you spitting. If your money's so long, why your dog's in prison? Why your baby mom's stripping, why your mom's still living in that same broken home that you used to sell piffin'? You ain't gotta lie to me to sell me a track. You ain't gotta rock fake jewels or walk around strap. I respect artists getting money, but love them for spitting crack. And the fact that one track can move a family out the trap. It's a dream for us lost souls brought up in the mix. I'm motivated by the artists coming out in my midst. And the artists that paved the way when I didn't exist. Music's a skyscraper, I'm just trying to add a couple bricks. This is for the dreamers. They say I am a dreamer. Cause I still believe that anything is possible as long as you work hard. Hustle real hard, hustle real hard, hustle real hard, hustle. So if I never see ya, never get the chance to meet ya. No, I came up from the bottom, always rooting for the underdog.